Welcome back to the Girly Girl Bookworm. I know, another video from me that's not a pre-recorded one. Whoa, in 1 week. But that is because I had a little more time to read this weekend-ish because we were preparing for Hurricane Sandy. And luckily, we did not lose power. But I still decided to read anyways because I had nothing else to do. And this time I chose to read The Bride Collector by Ted Dekker. I decided to keep this one for Halloween because it was about a serial killer, and I figured that's very Halloween-y, I guess. It's not really the Halloween-y. There's no monsters. There's no nothing in here other than a serial killer. But for some reason, I related a serial killer to Halloween. Maybe it's because I like the Halloween movies with Michael Myers and he's a serial killer. I don't know. But I decided to pick this up to read. I've had this for a few months now, but I just got to it. I figured now would be a perfect time to read it. So this story is about a serial killer, like I said, and what he does is he takes women and he kills them by gluing them to a wall, draining their blood from their feet. Like, he drills the bottom of their feet while they're like hanging up on the wall and all their blood falls out. And he leaves them with a veil, and I'm not gonna, yeah, so he leaves them with a veil on, which is why they call him the Bride Collector. When the story starts off, they just found his fourth victim, I want to say, but the difference with this victim is he leaves a note inside the person's like foot, because he like normally seals them up after he leaves, but he like sealed it up. So, but this time he like stuck a note up there, I guess, to help them like figure out who he is, I guess. And they realize that now he's actually going to be killing a total of 7 brides. And the note kind of leads these FBI agents to a center of wellness and intelligence where they meet like these 4 crazy characters. Well, they're not crazy, but they're schizophrenic, but they are very useful to the FBI because they are very smart. One, let's talk about the FBI agent. His name is Brad Rains. There's a psychologist whose name is Nikki, so they're the ones that go there. And then you've got a character named Cass. He's kind of like the lover of the bunch. They call him Cass, short for Casanova? No, Casablanca? I don't remember. Just somebody like that. There's Paradise, who's scared of almost everything. That she could see like ghosts and stuff, which is kind of crazy. Then there's Andrea, who's like the female version of Cass. She's very like all over men and stuff like that. And then there's I don't remember what his real name is, but they call him Sherlock because he's like the Sherlock of the bunch. Oh, and Andrea is really good at numbers. I forgot. So it's like they're all trying to help solve this case, and it's a pretty interesting story. Like this took me longer than it should have took me to read because I was reading it pretty quickly, but then towards the end I kind of started reading it slower, which makes no sense because towards the end it was getting really like, oh my god, I want to know what happens. I want to know if they catch him. Like, it was really a good read. I'm gonna warn people who maybe this isn't kind of their thing. There's a little bit of a tie into religion. Like, you don't have to believe in religion in order to like figure out what this guy's coming from, but it's kind of, they tie it in a lot. Like, the killer often says like, forgive me, Father, for I've sinned and I will sin again, like, kind of thing. So it's like you kind of see that. So if you're like an atheist and you don't want to read about somebody who's like God empowered, don't read this. I know like I believe in God, so it's like it didn't really bother me. It kind of bothered me because a serial killer saying that God's telling him to do this is kind of like, all right, that's not cool, but at the same time, like, it didn't really offend me. It didn't take away anything from the book for me. I did like the storyline, the way he wrote this book. It's kind of like other books that I've talked about in the past where it's like one chapter or one section you hear from one person's point of view, then you hear from another one. So like you often hear from Brad's point of view, you hear from Paradise's point of view, you hear from the killer's point of view. So you can't. No, I don't think you really hear from Nikki's point of view. Maybe for a little? I don't remember. But for the most part, those are your main three that you hear their point of view, that it often switches between them. But I totally recommend this book. I kind of just bought this book on a whim. I was at Barnes & Noble one day and it was like, oh, bestseller books on sale. And I think this book was $6.98 instead of $25. So I just was like, sounds interesting. Maybe I'll keep it for Halloween, you know. So that's exactly what I did, and it actually turned out to be a good book. Because I had bought this in the same section I had bought Family Ties, the last book that didn't float my boat. So I was kind of nervous. I was like, please don't let this be another bad book, because I've kind of been reading some dull books lately. So I was really excited that I enjoyed this book. And I think you should all pick this up if this is what you're kind of interested in. If it freaks you out, don't read this. But that is The Bride Collector by Ted Dekker, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Like, subscribe, comment, yeah, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!